Hello and welcome to Health Talk. I'm Dr. Manny. The most expensive medical condition in America threatens to bankrupt Medicare, Medicaid, and the life savings of millions of Americans. And I'm not talking about cancer or heart disease. I'm talking about Alzheimer's. Dr. Rudolph Tansey is a professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School who participated in the PBS's Alzheimer's Every Minute Count documentary. Now, he joins me today to talk about this issue. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
We talk about Alzheimer's being such a critical problem. Why is it a critical problem today?
Well, in a nutshell, it's because we're living so long. Our health span, especially our brain health span, is not keeping up with our lifespan. So all of modern medicine has us living, on average till 80 years old. And by 85 years old, you have a 40 to 50% chance of having Alzheimer's.
Right.
And most young people today can expect to live till 85.
So one of the things in the documentary and one of the things that I talked in my introduction had to be with the cost of Alzheimer's. Now, let's talk about the cost of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
There's the research aspect.
Well, the cost of the disease itself in the U.S. is $236 billion.
Right.
And that's only going to get higher.
Now, when we talk about that $236 billion, are we talking about actually the care for patients with Alzheimer's?
That's everything. That's cost for the government. That's the cost to the household. And that's also lost wages at businesses. I mean, Alzheimer's probably cost businesses alone with lost employment time $80 billion. So it hits every sector, from the family, of course, and plus the burden on the family, the caregiver, taking care of their loved one who they're losing in front of their eyes. And then the government costs, assisted living, you just tally it all up, it's about $236 billion.
So if we look at some of the, let's say Medicaid and Medicare, especially Medicare, which basically is the insurance for most Americans over the age of 65, how could theoretically this problem bankrupt Medicare?
Well, right now, as we say in the film, in Alzheimer's disease, Every Minute Counts, $1 in $5 of Medicare and Medicaid currently goes to cover Alzheimer's, 1 in 5. So then you have to think about the fact that 71 million baby boomers, like myself, are all just heading as a group toward this high-risk age.
Right.
And you can start to calculate how many cases you have pretty easily, and then you can determine that within 10 years, that 1 in 5 is going to go to 1 in 3. And at that point, you really topple Medicare and Medicaid.
Right.
So the fact is, Alzheimer's disease will single-handedly collapse Medicare and Medicaid in our healthcare system that we depend on.
Okay, Doc, where are we in finding a cure or eradicating, let's say? What's this? How's the research going today?
Well, my specialty is genetics. So I discovered many of the known Alzheimer's genes, including the first ones. And those genes are teaching us how the different pathologies in the brain arise that cause Alzheimer's. And we've heard a lot today about failed trials. So back 30 years ago, as a student at Harvard, I discovered the amyloid gene, the gene that makes the amyloid plaques.
The plaque, yeah.
And then we spent the last decades creating drugs and therapies that lower the plaque.
Right.
Well, those trials all failed because, we had to learn from our mistakes, and luckily we're learning that the plaques begin 10 to 15 years before the symptoms. It's like cholesterol and heart disease. So if you have someone with full-blown Alzheimer's disease and you give them a drug that lowers those plaques, it's like having someone who just had a heart attack and you say, oh, just take a statin, just take some Lipitor. You had to do that 10 years ago.
Right.
So now we know that if you're going to hit the initiator of the disease, the plaques, you have to do that before symptoms.
Right.
And we take for granted the fact that we don't diagnose Alzheimer's disease until you have symptoms.
Right.
Imagine if you did that in cancer.
Right.
Imagine if we waited till you had organ failure or a 2-inch tumor and say, okay, now you have cancer. We're going to treat you. Or heart disease, you wait till somebody has a heart attack.
Right.
So Alzheimer's is unique in that we treat after the brain's already degenerated to the point of dementia. And that's really not optimal.
What could patients do, or what can people do, knowing that they might be in a high-risk pool or something, or they are reaching an age where this might be a problem? How can they get ready?
Right. So not to sell my book, but the details are there as a resource. I wrote a book called Super Genes.
Right.
And the middle 6 chapters cover 4 areas: diet, exercise, sleep, and stress reduction. And very simply, diet, Mediterranean diet. Sleep, if you're over 40, you have to get 7 to 8 hours of night. Religiously, no excuses.
Right.
Exercise, if you have a device, 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day, or a brisk walk every day for an hour.
Right.
And stress reduction, manage your expectations of yourself and others, especially with social media, so much pressure.
Right.
And take on a meditation practice. We showed in a recent paper that meditation changes gene activity to turn down inflammation and turn down the plaques.
Where can people watch this wonderful documentary?
Well, it's still being shown on PBS, so you can check local listings, or just go to pbs.org and look up the film Alzheimer's Disease. Every minute counts. It's a fantastic film.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Great work, and thank you again.
You're welcome.
And if you have a health question, tweet me at Dr. Manny on Fox. Until next time, I'm Dr. Manny.